The Boston Celtics fan base has been living with a mix of tension and expectation since the injury of Jason Tatum and the sudden shift in the franchise strategy. A team once built for immediate domination is now navigating a season built around financial restructuring, contract management, and careful long-term planning. There is no panic in Boston, but there is calculation. The front office has already shown that this year will serve a deeper purpose than results in the standings. First, Kristaps Porzingis was traded. Then Drew Holiday was moved to Portland. And that second move brought in a piece that was never meant to be permanent. A prolific scorer, a guard with explosive potential, Anthony Simons. And this entire situation has now taken an unexpected and alarming direction. Stay with us until the end because the developments behind the scenes are shaking the league. Before we continue, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and click the hype button so you stay on top of every Boston Celtics update. Now, we get to the core of what is triggering massive debate. The Celtics were never dishonest about their intentions. Even though Simons has been solid in green, and even though his scoring helped fill the offensive gap left by Tatum, his contract was always the true asset. It expires at the perfect time for next season's roster reconstruction, and the front office does not want to lose financial flexibility. Meanwhile, one team in the East is smelling opportunity, a team hungry for firepower. League insiders reveal that Milwaukee has been evaluating Simons intensely, because they know he is only 26 years old and still approaching his prime. They remember he averaged 19.3 points per game last season, and they understand that his shooting fits perfectly next to Giannis Antetokounmpo. The Bucks want more three-point specialists, and they want a guard who can also create his own shots. The shocking part is what they are reportedly willing to offer. A team that wants to take advantage of the chaos in the conference. The Milwaukee Bucks. Kyle Kuzma and a second-round pick for the year 2026. Protected 31 through 55. It might sound light, but there is logic behind it. Kuzma has an additional year on his contract after this one. The Celtics would immediately save $5,300,000 against the salary cap and drop under the first tax apron. And financial strategy has been the main motivation for Boston since the beginning of the season. Opinions inside the Boston fanbase are split. On one hand, Kuzma is a controversial player. His shot selection is questionable, and his defensive performance fluctuates. On the other hand, 82-game veterans like him do not fall from the sky. Kuzma owns 417 career starts. He has 2 seasons with more than 20 points per game. He can score in the paint, mid-range, and from deep at a moderate level. With Tatum out and scoring responsibilities heavier than ever, Kuzma could help right now. Even more important, he could help next year without requiring new contract negotiations. That is exactly the type of stability the Celtics want. But here is where the suspense becomes explosive. If Boston accepts this trade, they might be sending Simons to the team that wants to exploit the current vulnerability of the East. Detroit, Toronto, and Miami are on top of the conference, and no one predicted that. The field is wide open. Every roster is scrambling to find the missing piece that could determine who survives the playoffs. Milwaukee believes Simons might be that piece. They think he could be the perimeter partner that allows Giannis to play with total aggression without defenses collapsing on him. If the Bucks trade for Simons and like what they see, they are ready to give him a long-term contract and possibly form a new offensive identity. If they do not like what they see, they can simply let him walk in free agency without any severe cost. Milwaukee has nothing to lose and everything to gain. And that raises the question that no one wants to ask out loud. If the Celtics pull the trigger and transfer Simons to the Bucks, are they helping Milwaukee take control of the Eastern Conference right when Boston is most vulnerable? Or is this the calculated sacrifice that protects the franchise financially and prepares the roster for a historic comeback when Tatum returns? Will Boston risk empowering a direct rival today in order to regain dominance next season? Or is this the moment that shapes the next era of the Eastern Conference forever? The Boston Celtics entered this season surrounded by uncertainty and cautious expectations. The departure of most of the championship core due to salary cap pressure, followed by the injury of Jason Tatum, created a scenario that was never meant to be smooth. Analysts called it a transition year. Critics expected regression, and rivals saw an opportunity to rise. Yet under the leadership of Joe Mazzulla, the Celtics have surpassed predictions and remained competitive, even without their main star. That fact alone has put the entire league on alert. Because if Boston is this good while incomplete, it raises a dangerous question. What happens when Brad Stevens finally reinforces this roster? Everything now revolves around December 15th, when players who signed during the off-season become eligible for trades. The countdown has begun. Front offices are already preparing for movement, and this date could redefine the trajectory of the Eastern Conference. Boston knows that the standings are not decided in February or March. It happens now, when depth, size, defense, and experience are acquired before everyone else panics. It is not enough to remain competitive. The Celtics need a roster that can survive postseason basketball. Information coming from around the league highlights something undeniable. Several franchises are already shifting their focus from winning to draft positioning. This gives the Celtics a window of opportunity, maybe the only window they will get this season. And Boston is watching specific players, not 10 names, not hypothetical dreams. 3 realistic trade targets that could completely reshape the rotation and bring back the identity this franchise lost with the exits of veterans like Al Horford and Robert Williams. The first candidate gathering strong internal discussion is Brook Lopez. The numbers do not hide his decline. His production in Los Angeles has dropped to 6.3 points per game and 1.9 rebounds per game. He has been a secondary factor defensively, but the Celtics understand the value behind the surface. Lopez still provides floor spacing, high-level basketball IQ, and playoff experience. His career 35% shooting from deep is not theory. It stretches defenses and opens driving lanes. On an offensively structured team like Boston, his weaknesses can be minimized while his strengths can be amplified. And with the Clippers still trying to compete rather than rebuild, Lopez could be acquired at a surprisingly low cost. The second name on the list could be the most polarizing for fans: Clint Capella. His return to Houston has placed him in a limited role, only 9.9 minutes per game. At first glance that might scare some people, but the Celtics are not evaluating him by small sample size. At a per 36-minute rate, he is producing nearly 12 points, over 15 rebounds, 1.6 steals, and 1.8 blocks per game. This is an interior anchor who punishes the offensive glass and reshapes pick and roll defense. He does not need touches to impact the game. He adds physicality, rim protection, and vertical spacing. And for a team that has lacked an intimidating presence in the paint since the departure of Robert Williams, Capella instantly solves a problem that cannot be ignored in playoff situations. Then we reach the name that has created the strongest reaction across the front office: Kevin Looney. A 3-time NBA champion who understands winning basketball on a structural level. A player who has guarded some of the toughest centers in postseason history and neutralized them through footwork, strength, and discipline. Looney is not a 20-point scorer. He does not need to be. He brings stability, leadership, and defensive identity. In New Orleans, he has suddenly become a background piece, while rookie Derek Queen takes over the starting job. The Pelicans will be active near the deadline, and Looney is one of their most tradable assets. For Boston, he represents something invaluable. A player built for the postseason rather than the regular season. A specialist in the type of basketball that determines championships. And this brings us to the real suspense that will dominate the coming weeks. Brad Stevens cannot bring all 3. That is a fact. He will choose only one. And whichever player he chooses could define not only this season, but the next era of Celtics basketball. Will Boston prioritize shooting and experience with Brook Lopez? Will they choose elite rebounding and rim protection with Clint Capella? Or will they build their postseason identity around Kevin Looney? Which of these targets gives the Celtics the best chance to survive without Jason Tatum today and return to full championship contention tomorrow? Before we close, I want your voice in this discussion. Drop your opinion in the comments. And do not forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and click the hype button so you never miss any update on the Boston Celtics.